Hello everyone, Science Viking here, and I'm back with the next part of our Let's Play of Myth, the Fallen Lords. Now let's hit this lovely next level button they've got for us.
Wednesday, November 19th, the Barrier. I have turned back my journal a few months and placed the next two entries in chronological order after Bagrada, where they seem most appropriate. I did not witness the events I'm about to relate, but instead repeat here the stories of those who survived them. It wasn't until after the disaster at Forest Heart that the rest of us even heard about any of this. It all started when the Nine learned that Alric had been captured by the Deceiver and his army decimated. I'm not certain how they figured this out,
by 10%.
but I'll bet the head told them. And this was back when the head could do no wrong. At the behest of the Nine, our officers chose 5 champions from among the Legion. They were carried over the mountains by balloon and dropped at night in the rough desert 20 miles from the Deceiver's camp. Their instructions were to rescue Alric by any means available, and to return him to the west. I believe that the Nine were suspicious of the circumstances surrounding Alric's capture, and wished to discover why the head had sent him over the mountains.
Well, when you're getting your instructions from a talking, severed head, I think it's time to rethink your life choices. Anyway, surprisingly, for a level called the 5 Champions, we have 5 champions. So, we have 2 Berserk heroes, an Archer hero, a Dwarf hero, and a Journeyman. He's just a regular Journeyman. I guess a regular Journeyman is just badass enough that we don't need a Journeyman hero. Also, if any of these units die, we will get a game over. Now, well, onward. Well, before I continue with this, I'm going to quick start us up a fresh recording file. So, I'll be back in a second. Alright. Got us a lovely fresh recording file. Let's move on with this level. Because we are the champions, my friend. This is going to be an interesting level. It is actually really fun to use the stronger... it is fun to use the stronger individual units. To give an example, a normal archer would have some difficulty shooting up that. Okay. This archer does not have difficulty shooting up that.
Sir? On the way. Got it. All right. All right. Got him!
Alright.
Right away. On the way. Okay.
These solas are still a bit of a problem, but not to anywhere near the same degree that they would be if we had normal archers.
Right away.
Especially if we only had one of them.
Yes! All right.
Though...
Right away.
He seems to be more talkative than a normal archer.
All right. On the way. All right.
It's already taking some damage, so the extra health that he has is also helpful. Alright.
On the way.
I'm too close to the soulless. I think that's the problem.
All right. That was mine.
Alright. Let's do a quick heal. The dwarf's still okay. Because, yes, if we,
Let's go.
if any of the champions die... I think I mentioned this in the first part, but if any of the champions die, that's a game over, so I need to keep everybody healed. This level will be a lot harder without a Journeyman.
Sir?
Also, despite the fact that the Journeyman is a normal Journeyman, he still cannot be a veteran.
Yes? Got it.
He will always be someone with 0 kills and 0 battles survived.
Ready.
Over here. I'm moving.
Alright.
I'm moving. Let's go.
That was mine.
And he's down. And now we have regular old-fashioned Thrall, who are actually going to be easy, relatively speaking.
What?
And the dwarf finally gets to do something. And yeah, this is not a normal dwarf.
Oh yeah.
He still does the same damage as a normal dwarf, he just has significantly higher accuracy and rate of fire. I'm fairly certain he still does the same damage as a normal dwarf.
Yeah.
And now we climb up here, where the zoom out function will not save us. Also, I kind of like the fact that their voices can sound more distant when they're farther away from the camera. And yeah, we have goals again. That's really what this level is. That's really what a lot of this level is about: goals and objectives.
I'm moving.
Okay, I apologize for that pun. I can't promise I won't make more, though.
Over here.
Suppose we might as well have the berserks
He's
take this guy
mine.
out. Or these guys. And around here somewhere there is an actual ramp down. But this is the one we... No, it is not. This is it. Yep. This one impassable area was in the way, but this area down here is where we actually need to get to. So you basically get up and then you make a very hard left. I'm fairly certain these ghouls don't carry pus packets, at least I really hope that they don't. Okay, they don't. Good.
Let's go.
And get everybody in position here. And those of you who guessed that we'd be fighting another group of Thrall up here, you would happen to be right. And you're starting to recognize the way they lay out the terrain. Of course, first we have these soulless. Okay, you two pull back.
Let's go.
Ready? Yeah, yes, sir.
Alright.
Okay. Yes. Move here, move there. Got him! Sir? My God, mine. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, this dwarf is not quite like the dwarves we were using in the last level. Longer range, better accuracy, he can actually hit the souls. Still don't want to do that unless you have a height advantage.
That was mine.
But he's actually
On the
pretty
way.
effective at taking them out. Alright.
On the way.
I'm moving.
It's also fun to
Yeah.
just see the massive numbers of kills some of the units will rack up. And the promised thrall.
Okay.
Yep, and they're
I'm
coming after
moving.
us.
Yes?
Get the dwarf down there and have the archer to start unloading. No, stop running down there. There we are. Yeah, the archer isn't contributing a whole lot to this, but he doesn't really need to.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
In the unlikely event that any of these thralls survive, the berserkers are going to take them. I only need one more hit.
Got him. Yes.
However,
moving.
an interesting
I'm
thing to
moving.
notice. Well, the Berserk heroes are quite powerful, and are quite a bit more powerful than the other kinds, than the regular Berserks. They actually are at more of a disadvantage than the other hero types are due to their small numbers.
Ready?
Since melee units lose
Right away.
effectiveness very quickly, yes, I did forget about the second group of Thrall. Since melee units lose effectiveness very quickly when they become outnumbered,
Yes, sir.
these Berserks will actually struggle
Sir?
against groups of enemies, even groups of Thrall, that a normal-sized squad of regular Berserks wouldn't really have trouble with. So, in some situations, while each one of these Berserks is stronger than a normal single Berserk, these two Berserks together are not as strong as the normal group of Berserks that you would have. Or to be more accurate, they are better at taking out individual soulless and small groups of ghouls, but they have a lot more trouble taking out enemy melee units. By comparison, this one archer is about as powerful as the group of archers you normally get. This one dwarf is quite clearly as powerful as the 2 or 3 dwarves you normally get. But by comparison, the Berserks, the actual force of Berserks that you have in this level is weaker than what you usually get because melee units suffer very badly when they are outnumbered. I'm not entirely certain what that sound was, but I know that it was not a trow, for those of you who are wondering. Mainly just because I know that there aren't trow in this level. Yeah, there's a fair amount of running in this level. The next area we want to get to is over here. The actual linear distance is fairly, that we have to travel on this level, is fairly long, but it really isn't that long. I think it's meant to be the sound of these. I think they're tar pits. Alright.
Let's go.
And those are more heals. Those are mandrake roots which you use to heal your units. And the red line over there is a group of soulless. Alright.
Yes?
Gonna
All right.
take a somewhat high-risk strategy on this one.
Ready? On the way.
Yeah. Let's go. I'm moving. Yeah.
Some would call this madness, and I would say that, yeah, you're probably right.
I've got him. Get back up. I'm
Okay,
moving.
and get the berserks out of there before they take any more damage.
All right.
But the archer would have had a lot of trouble
Okay.
taking on all of those soulless without help. Part of my reason for being
Yes?
willing to risk this is because we just found a very large cache of extra heals. And also because, the journeyman, sort of like how dwarves can only a normal dwarf can only carry a maximum of 8 satchel charges, a journeyman can only carry a maximum of 9 of the mandrake roots that they use to heal your units. So once you have more than that, they're meaningless. Now I'm going to have the journeyman... Oh, his pathfinding won't figure that out on its own. I'm going to have the journeyman run over and grab the mandrake roots. Yeah, he won't be overstocked. And in the meantime, everyone else is going to go up here to this bridge, which is how we progress the actual level. Also, I was just thinking about this. It's going to be quite a while before we encounter Trow again. No, I think it's going to be 4 levels. The 3rd level after this one is the next mission in which we have to deal with Trow. In my opinion, the Trow we deal with in the next few levels that contain them are actually easier than the one we deal with in this level. Or in this level? Than the one we dealt with in Bagrada. Because you have a more defensive position, and I believe it's actually possible in the next level that contains a Trow. I believe, accidentally zoomed in. I believe it is possible to avoid fighting it. And in the level after that, these guys might have pus packets. Guess they don't. And in the level after that level, the next time you encounter, or in the next time you encounter Trow after that, they are,
Right away.
you have a significantly stronger force than you did in Bagrada. I mean, the force in Bagrada was fairly generous compared, like, it was one of the stronger forces we'd had up till that point.
I'll do it.
However, the next time we have to actually fight Trow, we get both a stronger force and, in general, a better situation to deal with a large single unit charging at us. So generally speaking, our first encounter with Trow will actually be the worst one for a while. We will be dealing with fights with Trow that are worse than that one was eventually, but it'll be a little while. And those Berserks actually took meaningful damage. Also, you may notice from my laying down a set of landmines along the bridge, we're going to have to ambush something.
Make up your mind. Yes.
This is probably more than we need, but I've always liked excessive firepower. Another thing something we're gonna need to ambush is these Thrall. Yeah, the giant number of satchel charges just might be overkill for that. But, well, I like to be prepared. Alright. This is a very interesting break from the way things usually are, including the fact that you have to keep all of these units alive, which is actually a story thing, not a gameplay thing. Because they appear in a later level, and in that level, you're allowed to lose them. So the only reason why they have to survive in this level is because if they don't, then it wouldn't make sense for them to suddenly be alive again in the next level.
Sir?
But it does make for an interesting level, where you have very strong guys, but you also have to be very careful with them. Alright. Wait for the right moment. Unfortunately, they've gotten snagged, so this is not going to be a very effective trap.
Got him!
Okay, what was that? What are you aiming at? Also, yeah, detonating a whole set of satchel charges and just several regular grenades on a bridge, no problem, no problem at all. Not going to damage the structural integrity of the bridge in the slightest. Did the dwarf just do his taunt in stereo? It sounded like they played the taunt audio twice. I'm just gonna heal both of the berserks. And the dwarf. We have a surplus.
I'm moving. Yeah, I'm moving.
Alright.
Ready. On the way.
And there might be another group of Thrall, I don't remember. or really care terribly much. The choke point is helpful, and it's good more, once again, on higher difficulty levels or if you're less skilled. But really, if there is a second group of Thrall out here, they won't be too tough to handle now that we've taken out the ghouls. Also, one interesting thing to mention, the heroes' names are not random. Normal units' names are random, but a hero unit, they always have a particular set of names, which kind of makes sense. They also have, I haven't really talked about it, every unit type has flavor text, which appears up here, giving some backstory for the particular unit type. Each hero has unique flavor text, not talking about the kind of unit they are, but instead talking about them specifically, which is kind of a nice touch.
Yeah.
Another interesting feature while we run across this large empty expanse, if you click on the portrait of a particular unit, it will jump the camera straight to where they are. So if for some, in the relatively unlikely event that you have a unit selected but they aren't on screen, you can easily jump to them. It's not really all that helpful, because there aren't very many situations where you would be not looking at a unit but still have them selected. Also, amusingly, there is a group of Thrall here. There is no way for them to get up here. There is no way for them to attack us or harm us in any way. I don't believe there is any way for them to... Like, the valley they're in, I think, connects to this. But this is completely fenced in and unreachable, so... It's not so much a how'd they get there thing. I'm sure there are ways they could have ended up in that valley. Maybe they're just off screen or something, but... What are they doing there? It's not possible for them to be threatening to you in any way. They're just kind of there for some reason.
Yes.
Yep. Gather everybody together. Our ability to progress is controlled by the speed of our slowest units, like in all of these. But we're near the end. This that we can barely see because the camera won't let me move that far until we get closer to it is... This is the prison we need to free Alric from.
Let's go.
Right. I wish that the game let you zoom out farther when your units are on higher ground. How far you can zoom is completely independent of the height that your units are on. So maps with a lot of vertical distance, so things can move up and move down.
On the way.
So maps with a lot of high ground and a lot of low ground, it's actually really difficult. You can end up with a situation where you're forced to zoom in farther than you'd really like to. But this is our last obstacle. It's more than 3 soulless. Those are just the ones we can see right now. Alright, the journeyman is mostly going to be there to heal people as needed. Get these 2 into place. And then I'm going to send the berserks to mostly just draw the attention of the soulless. Because they are a pretty substantial threat, and I don't know if anyone's been counting, I haven't, but it wouldn't surprise me if soulless are actually responsible for the majority of the casualties that I have ever had in this playthrough. I wouldn't be comfortable saying they're the majority of the casualties I've ever had. I used to be a lot less skilled at dealing with other unit types. Okay. And that's 1 down. And that appears to have triggered all of them to come after us. Which could be a problem. Because, well, that's a lot of soulless. Maybe this is what the satchel charges really should have been saved for. Just a repeat of what happened last level. Come on. Okay. That was entirely too close. That was entirely too close.
Ready. Right away.
Let's go.
And now, we need to destroy these pillars surrounding this thing to free Alric. And then the level will be over. Any unit can damage them. They don't have a health bar because they're not a unit. They're just an object. They're the fairly unusual thing of an object that is actually directly targetable. Normally, destroyable objects, you can't directly target them, but if like an explosive attack connects with them, they'll be destroyed. But with these things, you can actually have your units target them directly.
All right.
And these purplish orbs surrounding Alric start to disappear the more of the pillars you take out until you've taken out all of them. And that's the end of the level. Though not the end of the rescue. Because Alric will actually... And no casualties, of course. 127 kills, mostly Thrall. This is also not, in addition to this level, this is not the last we will see of Alric. He will be actually a fairly significant character later on. This is just kind of introducing him. But that's the end for this part. I'm actually nearing the half-an-hour limit for how long my videos can be. So, with that, I'll see you next time for the second half of this rescue mission in Out of the Barrier. In the meantime, this is Science Viking, signing off. As usual, I love you all, and I will see you next time.